This week on the Lonnie and Ryan podcast.
25,000 game systems, and that includes also my inventory of buying and selling. So just a ridiculous amount of product. So we picked him up and he hops in the car and he goes, all right, so I got good news and bad news. That money I owe you, I have that. And I was like, okay, good. And he goes, the bad news is that is all the money you're going to be getting for the foreseeable future.
Is that the one that had 53,000 people?
Brazil had right around 50 and Chile had 55-ish thousand.
Like, did you have to pinch yourself and like?
It's still surreal because that doesn't happen.
No.
Most of the time they would never allow or let a fan get in on right. That level.
Today's guest is Scott from the YouTube channel known as Scottsquatch. Scott has been on tour with a very famous metal band for over 15 years. He's also been making retro video game content on YouTube for a couple decades as well. He started his channel in 2006 and has grown it to over 54,000 subscribers. Join us in welcoming Scottsquatch. All right. Well, Scott, thank you for joining us on the show today. This is going to be a little bit of a different one, but we're very excited. We're very excited to have you on. And, I think you have lived and are currently living one of the most interesting lives I've seen.
Yes.
And that might be an understatement, honestly.
It's probably like 2 or 3 different lives all being combined into one human.
Exactly.
It's at least 3.
Yeah.
Can I give a little backstory here, Scott? Because this is kind of a really cool moment for me. I've been on YouTube a little over a decade now as like a reseller.
Okay.
And when I first started getting serious about reselling, I quickly learned that, hey, because like a decade ago, especially, video games are where it's at.
Sure.
And
they're a popular subject.
I knew squadoosh. I didn't know anything about video games. And I happened upon Scott's channel, which I think at the time it was called Video Game Sellers. Is that what it was? So
the channels had 2. The channel when it first started was JHMDF. And then a long time ago, over a decade ago now, I changed it to Scottsquatch. So, but like, how YouTube sort of still keeps the old name. Like if you look a little deeper, so that's still there, but Scottsquatch for a long time.
Yes. So I happened upon your channel and Scott, you're in Tampa. Is that right?
Yeah. Near Tampa, Florida.
And you used to do these videos where you go out garage selling and, you buy games and then on the weekends you would go to the flea market. The is it the Wagon wheel? Is that what it was?
Yep, correct.
And you actually had like a pretty elaborate setup there at the Wagon wheel.
Depending on what time I got there and how tired I was, it could be pretty elaborate.
but you had like a double booth kind of thing or something, right? Did you have like 2 booths?
It changed over the years. I was there for 8 years. And from the time when I first started, I wasn't set up selling there. I was with another guy who was, and we started filming the show. And I slowly started selling things and setting up at his booth. Then it moved over to another guy's booth where we were filming and sharing like 2 spots. And then I moved down that row and then had my own spot, which was like usually 2 spots, sometimes 1 spot. But yeah, it kind of just changed over the years depending on how much, like I said, how early I could get up, because I never left anything out there. I didn't permanently keep things there, so I had to unpack it all and pack it all up every 1,000+ items sometimes.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I got all of my education on video games early on from you. Because like
you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you, big time. Like I there were 2 main places I got my education from. It was from Scott, and it was also from Pat and Ian on Unnecessary Podcast. A totally completely unnecessary podcast.
Yep.
And I would listen to those guys when I would go out garage selling, and then I would binge watch your channel, and man, I learned so much. So, and then I got into you had recurring characters and storylines, and Katie.
It's the flea market. Yeah, there's all types of interesting people out at the flea market. But yeah, during that time, I had a really good formula where on Saturdays I would go garage sale hunting. I'd film that. Saturday night, I would edit that content, get it up for Sunday morning. I'd go to the flea market on Sunday, set up. I'd film there. The video from the yard sale would go up around like noon, and I would frequently have people watching that video messaging me saying, "Hey, I want to buy that. Do you have this? Blah, blah, blah." And then I could just kind of continue that on a weekly basis of feeding, the for sale demographic, feeding the hunting demographic, and feeding the collecting demographic, because I collected for 35 years up until 2022. So there was still the aspect of I wanted stuff as well. So yeah, it was a good like I'd say 8-year run of doing that cycle.
That's what made it really cool to watch, is because like now there's quite a few video game like reseller type channels out there.
What?
Right. But very, like, most of them are more interested in, oh, I bought it for this, I sold it for that. I bought it for this, I sold it for that.
True,
but you were different because you actually loved, collected, played, knew the history of, knew the lore of all these games.
I would attribute that aspect to, so like I worked for GameStop for 21 years.
Oh, you did?
Wow. Yeah, for a very long time, in between my other jobs. So I just sort of, I've always found a way to take my passion and the things I'm really interested in and make them work, and maybe make some money off of them, maybe not, maybe just, have it be a part of my life and still function. So working for GameStop for a long time was a big benefit to the buying and selling, aspect for sure. But yeah, my collecting, I mean, from the age of, like most of us, Atari 2600, the original Nintendo. I'm 41 years old, so that was, my childhood era.
Wow.
And just being a kid that collected everything from fireworks to Halloween candy to things that normal kids collected, like, Ninja Turtles and that kind of stuff. But I loved organizing. I loved displaying. So I've always treated the gaming hobby as like, I've enjoyed every aspect of it. I've enjoyed the playing of games, of course, but the collecting, categorizing, the going out and hunting for, the selling, because I love seeing people, now that I've been selling my collection for the last 4 years, I love seeing people getting things that maybe there's only 50 of these, or maybe there's only like 100, whatever, just, and passing that along, and the stories about it. So yeah, everyone collects in their own way, and there's no right or wrong way to collect, but I've definitely enjoyed every aspect of the hobby, I think, that you possibly can.
What made you like decide to start selling off your collection? Because you're selling off most of your collection, right? Or you started to?
Yeah.
What changed there? Like why'd you decide to?
So I never planned on dying with my collection, meaning like I don't have any kids. I am married, but I was never going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep this until I'm 80 and then someone has to deal with it. I was a heavy collector, meaning 25,000 game systems, and that includes also my inventory of buying and selling. So just a ridiculous amount of product. Promotional material. I was an insane promo collector, working for GameStop for 2 decades. You get a lot of cardboard, you get a lot of posters, so there's 1,000+ items in there. So I realized if I don't plan on keeping it forever, or dying with it, then I'm halfway through my life. At this point I would have been like 37, and thinking, I'm going to live to maybe around in my 70s or 80s. Why not start now? I've been a seller for a long time. So I'm not going to dump it. I'm not just going to, say, hey, someone come take it for, X amount of money. So I want to piece it out. I want to take my time. And I know that is going to take many years, maybe a decade. You don't, you really can't say because it's depending on how the market goes up and down. But I wanted to make the most of it. And like I said, I enjoy the selling aspect, a lot. So I like being able to not only, get these items to other people's collections, but I also, like being able to get as much as I can out of it, both financially and just enjoyment wise. So I realized, I think the biggest, thing in my head was I got to start some point. I don't want to be in my 60s trying to do this. I'm healthy now. I have the time and the drive to do this now. So I probably should just go for it. And then, some people they go, how can you do that? I'm like, it takes to sell 25,000 items. Like I would have to be selling hundreds a day and it's still going to take years,
Is it true that you sold like about 5,000 items so far? You would estimate? Is that accurate?
Yeah. I think, the hard thing to estimate is that, I didn't stop buying stuff.
Right.
Meaning I stopped collecting, but like I still love going to yard sales. And if I find something for $1 that's worth $100, I'm always going to buy it. It's just, it's going to happen. So I've probably sold way more than 5,000 items in the last like 4 years. But I've tried to limit my buying more. Like it's gotta be something that's, worth my time, worth the money. I'm not buying massive collections like I used to. I used to just be like, oh, you got something for sale? I'll buy it all, $5,000, $10,000. I just want to, make the whole purchase. Now I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not your guy. Let me direct you to the guy that will do that. But I'll never say no to like a little small collection or like, like I said, if you're out yard sale hunting and it's like, oh, you know what? 50 pounds of Legos for $40. Sure.
I just watched that a little while ago. I was like, oh man, that reminds me of times I've done that with Legos. And then a couple of years later, it's still sitting in my storage unit. I'm like, why did I buy that?
I laughed when I saw that video too. I laughed when you picked it up. You told the lady that you bought it from, you're like, well, it's my problem now.
You definitely have to. I try to have a plan now also for everything I get. And that's a big factor. If someone contacts me and says, hey, I have some stuff for sale. And I go, okay, where is this going to go? Like, is this just going to go in a box and sit off to the side forever? Or do I have some people that I think would be really interested in it? The Lego was, it was just such a good price that I couldn't say no. I could see that there was minifigures in there, which is, what people want. And my wife and I, it's kind of like a puzzle. You sit down and you start piecing together all the minifigs. So we spent like a week or so, probably closer to 2 weeks, a few hours here and there, just popping little heads and arms and stuff, on the figures, and put together like 250 minifigures. I took the bulk.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot in there.
Jeez. Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're like $5 to $8 each, that's a lot. So I took the bulk of the Lego pieces to a local Bricks and Figs location.
Oh, they've been on YouTube lately. I don't know if you seen the.
Do they eat kids or something?
No, not that particular location probably, but one of their other locations is famous right now for basically stealing a $200,000 collection from some old man.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
really?
Hopefully it wasn't this location, but either way,
it
was probably my one time maybe ever dumping, this is the second time I've ever bought this many Legos. But as I've gotten older, and I think like most people, like, finding one specific type of thing when you're out hunting gets harder and harder when that thing in pop culture becomes more and more and more popular. So I've always been into toys and music and anime and all that kind of stuff, but I was able in the past to purchase enough video game stuff where it's like,
Yep.
I could be like, I don't need a pile of manga. I don't need 75 vinyl records. But now it's, it's fewer and farther between of finding those like, really good game scores. They're still out there, but just not as plentiful. So now it's like, my eyes look around a little bit more to my other things that I've been interested in, my other facets in my life, which, like I said, music, horror, anything like horror. And then I go, oh, well, they're only asking $1 for that or $10 for that. Yeah, I'll take a chance. So.
And you're already there. You already spent all the time like getting there and everything. You're standing right in front of them. Like it'd be dumb not to buy more since that makes sense.
Gas is so cheap these days. It's
right.
Man. Well, maybe because we kind of started this off by giving a cliffhanger about how interesting your life is.
Okay.
So maybe let's hear a little bit about you, like the brief outline of you said there were like 3 kind of different lives that you live.
I think it might be 4. I think it's
3 or 4.
I can put it into easy context based on my YouTube channel. So shout out to my YouTube channel, Scottsquatch. If you
link
go
below.
Yeah, if you link below. If you go back to the start, and now the time frame or timeline gets a little funky because when you put videos like on private, at least back then, and then you unprivate them, the publish date becomes the new.
Oh, yeah.
So the timeline's a little screwed up there, but 2006 is when I started my YouTube channel, and it started with I owned a Halloween prop company. If you can't tell, there's some corpses and stuff behind me. It's not because I'm like sacrificing people. It's their Halloween decorations. Yeah, thank you. So that was the main reason why I started a YouTube channel at the time, was to advertise some of the little things we were building. Again, a very small company. Just like I had like 4 or 5 people, helping build some stuff. And I worked for Spirit Halloween as a, I got to get the title right. It was regional product display coordinator.
Wow.
Which was like a made up thing that I got in contact with the vice president of the company at the time. This story, there's so many layers. I worked for Hot Topic, and I got the contact for the guy that worked for Spirit Halloween because
you're a networker.
Spencer's, yes, exactly. Spencer's owned Spirit Halloween, so I was able to get a foot in there. Worked for Spirit Halloween for a handful of years. Blah 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 blah. So then, around that same exact time, at the end of 2006, I got hired by the guitar player for the rock band Korn, and I was on the street team. I know this story. Yeah,
randomly.
Yeah. 2006 was a crazy time. So I was on their street team as a teenager. And for those that don't know, a street team is you're just a big fan of like a band or whatever, and they'll send you promotional materials, and you go out to, a concert or whatever, and you throw out flyers or posters.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for a handful of years, and then that led to a few like meet and greet opportunities with the band. And and after a few of those meet and greets, another layer, I was working locally for a bunch of concert production companies. I think like 3 at the time. One of them happened to be a amphitheater over in Tampa, and the amphitheater was owned, I think it still is, by Live Nation. So Live Nation's a big name, big brand. Mm-hmm. And while talking to the guitar player, his name's James or Monkey, while talking to him about, I'm obviously a big fan. My at the time girlfriend and I, wife now, Katie and I have been together for 25 years. We're big fans, but we support the band. We do a lot of work. This is what we've done. We've done like a DVD release party, partnered with the local radio station. I also work for Live Nation at this one venue. I'm sure I played it up more. I didn't say like, sometimes I go and do this couple jobs. I was like, no, I work for Live Nation. And he was a little drunk, which probably helped. But he was like, you work for Live Nation? Oh, and you're like a big fan, but you're not crazy. Like you're not
Right.
touching me or begging me for something, So I was like, yeah. And he just said, I'm starting a small independent record label. I need somebody to start a street team or, start a promotional department. Would you be interested? And I'm 21 at the time. And I was like, yes. I have no idea why you're picking me, but he gave me his contact info. And at the start of like 2007, I started creating, and doing this promotional opportunity with his record label. By the summer of that year, I had talked my way into going out on the Family Values tour, not tour managing, but doing like on-site promotions for one of the bands on the label that was also on the tour with Korn. And then I tour managed that band for a couple years afterwards.
What band was that?
Called Droid.
Droid? Okay, never heard of them. Yeah.
American metal band that in the early 2000s were more like rap metal, rap rock.
Kind of like Limp Bizkit kind of stuff?
I would say closer to that, yeah. And then a few years, or when they wanted to try again, they came back with more just straight up, like I would say Lamb of God, Hatebreed style of metal. Forgive me if you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I've heard of these names. I couldn't name a song or anything, but I've heard of the bands.
And this band was on the guitar player's label?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And then from there, unfortunately, like a lot of things, he put a lot of money into the record label. Once those album cycles were done for that band, and there was another one and his solo album that he put out, he was like, well, that was $1 million+ that I spent. I'm not going to probably continue with that at this time. So I was like, well, what do I do? Like, what's my job? And he said, do you want to be my personal assistant? And I'm like, what does that entail? He goes, make sure I'm awake and get me coffee. Like the two most important.
Deal.
Yeah. I was like, sure. So
and what year was this about, Scott? In the timeline, where are we at?
2009.
Okay.
And then from 2009 till 2015, I was his personal assistant. The only other job I really had at that time while on tour was I ran the singer Jonathan Davis's teleprompter during the show. So essentially he has like two screens, like karaoke style screens. And while rocking out, like you can lose your place or you can kind of forget where you are. So that's my job, is to keep him on track. He also...
That sounds kind of stressful.
It was for the first, I'd say, like half a decade. But
half a decade.
But I got really like comfortable with it to where now I feel like it's the least stressful part of my job.
Right.
I have two computers. I have my main, I have a backup computer. I have backup, all cables and all this type of shit. So it's more of like, as long as I am not asleep, as long as I can at least, hit the down arrow on the keyboard, I'm fine. So yeah, I started doing that. Then in right at the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, I was let go. I was not fired. I was just, there was restructuring that happened. Anything I'm telling you is easily to look up on Google. So like, yeah, it's, you can see like they went through a few different management companies at the time. And it was just, they were like, you know what? We need to take a step back. Jobs like personal assistant for one guy was not a priority. So my position got terminated, but I was told once something is available, you'll come back.
So let me interrupt you real quick. So we're like 2014 now, right?
2015.
About 2015.
Yeah.
So you've been with the band for like 9 years at this point?
Yeah.
In some capacity or another?
Yeah.
So how tight, like, is it like strictly a professional type of relationship, or have you, especially with Monkey, because like you were his assistant, right?
Yeah.
At this point, were you guys like friends, or is it still like professional level? And like, how did he give you the news? How'd that go?
Yeah, he did give me the news. I would say that it's probably like a family member is the closest way to put it.
Oh,
Okay.
You're, and I say it like because I'm in contact with my brothers, but I don't see them all the time. They live in other states. Maybe months go by and like it's just you know, hey, happy birthday, you know, or whatever. So but when you're together, it's more than just a, you know, a business partner, or not business partner, but employee, because when I was, I say kid, but 21, I mean, he helped me essentially buy my first house. Like he was doing more than he needed to keep me employed. Meaning, like, you know, he was making it work on his end.
So how did that conversation go then? That must have been very hard. That must have been like just
and this wasn't their decision. It was coming from like another entity, or like what was that about?
It was his decision or their decision based on the structure of, you know, they're a company. They're you know, they're not just a band that goes out and plays. They have a lot of balls in the air pretty much at all times. So at that time, again, no secret, in the early 20 teens, their career was at probably the lowest point it had ever been. Financial, you know, ticket sales, that kind of stuff. So
they were hurting.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So when he had to tell me, so I was there's a position like at a venue called a runner. There are people that the venue hires on to go like, hey, we need batteries, and they'll run out to the local store and pick up batteries. We need this from the grocery store. They go. So I had a runner going to pick him up from the gym, and I was in the car with the runner and him. So we picked him up, and he hops in the car and he goes, all right, so I got good news and bad news. And I was like, okay, he's like, what do you want to hear first? And I said, hit me with the good news. And he's like, that money I owe you, I have that. And I was like, okay, good. And he goes, the bad news is that is all the money you're going to be getting for the foreseeable future.
Oh man.
And he's like, I'm sorry, man, but I knew what had been going on. Like I was
probably
there.
Saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a crazy shock, but it still obviously sucked. So, it was, when I went home, I was like, well, I don't really work in the music industry. I work for musicians. I work for people that are in the music industry. So unlike a lot of my like fellow crew members and stuff who go out once one of our like a Korn tour ends, they go out and work another tour for a different band, you know? I don't do that. So when that came for like 2015 and 2016, I was done in the music industry, and people would message me like, hey, Korn's playing at this show near me. Are you going to be there? I was like, no, sorry, man. I don't tour anymore.
Ouch. So, that must have hurt, man.
Yeah. You never want to have to, you know, when it's not your decision, like pretty much all of the other careers and stuff I've had have been my decision when I've ended them or not. So that one wasn't. But I doubled down on the channel and YouTube during that time. So like 2015 and 16, like I had mentioned when we were talking earlier.
That's when I was watching you heavy back at that point.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me. Yeah.
I think I did 8 conventions probably like in 2016. I did a ton like across the whole country. I was really trying to get the name out there in the channel, doing collaborations with as many people as I could. And then come 2017, I get a phone call or a text message saying, hey, from Monkey, would you like to come out and do 2 weeks as our production assistant? And first question was, what the hell is a production assistant? Because during the time I was there, we were a pretty tight ship. Like we didn't have a lot of extra employees. Maybe we did like in the 2007-8 era, but by 14, 15, like, no, we were a very minimal crew. So I was like, sure, what is that? And he goes, it's kind of like a personal assistant for everybody, for the crew and the band. was like, okay, I'm hoping it pays better than before. And it was at the time, it was just like a fill-in position because their production assistant was doing another tour with another band. There's where that comes in of like, well, sometimes if you work for too many bands, you get replaced. And I came out, I did a good job. I had seen the band, I think twice, maybe 3 times over those 2 years. I went to a show, hung out, like still family, still, friends. So there was no weirdness. So I still liked to be around them. So then it just happened to be like, they were like, you know what, having you around on a daily basis, we missed that. So I think we need to find a spot for you, to stay. Like we want you to stay back, not just come in and fill in anymore, or like this 2 weeks. So it was kind of a quick decision on my end as I then fought for that position, the production assistant, because I said, look, I just did it for 2 weeks. I did a good job. I understand it. No offense to the guy that was doing it.
He's not here.
Right.
He has other jobs. He has like another band or two other bands he works for. So I'm like, I don't. So if that works for you. And then I came home. I didn't really know exactly what was happening or was going to happen. And it just so happened that the other guitar player, Head, Brian, was staying in Florida. He had a house in Florida at the time. And I met up with him at like a Waffle House for lunch or IHOP or something. And he goes, so me and Monkey we decided you're just going to be the production assistant from here on out. And I was like, oh crap. Okay. Well, that's great. That lasted for 3 years, roughly, somewhere around there. And then Korn kept getting bigger and bigger. And we got an official production manager that brought on his own assistant. And then, so now there's me and this lady. And I was like, well, like, what does this mean? And then I just noticed my title changed to band assistant, which again, at first I was like, well, I didn't make that decision. And then I was like, wait a second. That's me. It's better. It's just working for the band. I hate doing the emails, the forwarding shows, like the contact in advance of like the writer and that kind of stuff. That was my least favorite thing. I love talking to people like on site, doing stuff on site. So she ended up doing that and she became a really good friend of mine. She was better at it anyway. And then I for the last 5 years or so of being back, I've been band assistant, which is Monkey, Head, Ray, and our current bass player, Ra. Basically, like my wife has told many people, I'm their mom. Clothes, food, dressing room. If their kids are out, just make their life on the road as good as possible. And I was John's assistant as well, the singer, but because trying to do assisting for 5 people, he ended up getting his own because he's the singer, and that's kind of self-explanatory. Singers just kind of, need more. So he has his own, and I still run his teleprompter though. I'm still out on stage left, which is, where I every once in a while will take a picture or video or whatever. And
we've seen the videos, and
as a matter of fact, Ryan, can we drop? Scott, do you mind if we drop just a couple of seconds from some of those shows you've been sharing, like right here? Because
that's fine,
man,
for sure.
So you got to do with a curtain drop, like the kabuki is what it's called. Do that from either like I think for the Brazil show.
Is that the one that had 53,000 people?
Brazil had right around 50, and Chile had 55-ish thousand, which were Korn's 2 biggest headlining shows they've ever done. 33 years into their career, they're
how what is there?
Have they released any new like music recently, or do you think it's like a nostalgia thing, or is it getting out to like other demographics? Like what do you think is driving that?
They do still release new music. It has been a few years since the last album. They've been in the studio now for almost 5 years working on a new one. But Korn has always had an album about every, let's just say, 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, roughly. So they've stayed consistent there, but that doesn't with how music is digested also these days, unless you're a top 5 pop star or rap star, or whatever, that's not keeping your career going. They've managed to continuously tour, barely ever take any like breaks from that, which has helped them. But 30-year cycles in anything, video games, music, whatever. It's like once somebody gets to a certain age, they go, either I have kids, I want to show my kids this now, or I hate my life now. I wish it was like it was 30 years ago. What were my favorite things?
Do they all, is it maybe kind of like a Grateful Dead, Fish, Dave Matthews kind of thing? Like where they just tour so much that they just have like a cult following at this point? Is that what's going on? Or
we do for sure. I say we, sorry. They do for sure.
No, that's valid. You can say we.
I frequently will say we because of I've been there for over half of my life, so it's really hard not to be like, yeah, this is us, Right. But they definitely have a very hardcore fan base. Luckily, we don't tour as crazy as like the Grateful Dead did or something, where it was just like it never seemed like it ended. I think it's just best described as a perfect storm. With things like TikTok and Instagram, we do have a lot of younger fans. The Korn has, for what people like to say of like, oh, they always sound the same. They actually have had a crazy amount of diversity in their sound over the years, from rap to like techno to metal to acoustic to dubstep. Like they've tried to mix in and sample all different types of things. And every time they do that, it brought in, new chunks, new little bits of audiences. And Jonathan Davis is a very unique vocalist. His voice is very like nasally. He does scat, like jazz style, like scat. He plays the bagpipes. So I'm like, he's not a normal lead singer or vocalist. And when you have something like TikTok and people can sample 10 little seconds of a scat or of some weird, part of a music video, that really helps drive, like the audience and ticket sales. So
have they had stuff like that happen, like a trending sound go crazy on TikTok? And
yeah.
So we went. I mean, it just seems like there's no peak at this point. Like when we were in Brazil, I'm standing next to Monkey and we're watching one of the opening bands in the stadium, and it's not even full yet. People are still coming in, but I'm just like, man, could you have imagined 2013 when we were playing in some bars for like maybe 1,500, 2,000 people, and some even lower than that, especially over in Europe. There was some clubs that we played for like 500 people a couple times. I'm like, could you imagine we would be here in Brazil for 50,000 people? And he's like,
no.
He said like, I could, but I had to make everyone else believe in it too.
Ooh.
So like he knew that like they had it in them, but it was going to take the right mix. And their management company, which I'll give a shout out to them for no reason, it's called Velvet Hammer. They manage Korn, Deftones, System of a Down.
We just listened to I just listened to an old System Sugar yesterday for the first time in a very long time.
Avenged Sevenfold, Incubus, AFI.
Wow.
And a few others. So they manage from that era, especially System, Deftones, and Korn. They manage some of the biggest bands from the 90s and early 2000s. And they know what they're doing because all of these bands are selling out not arenas but stadiums now. We've played massive crowds that it just, like I said, each year it's like, well, what do we do this year? Like we sold out a 28,000 show in London, and then we just did the South America tour in 7 shows they sold over 200,000 tickets in 7 shows. Like just insane numbers for a new metal band from the 90s. So.
What is I looked at their YouTube channel earlier. I was like, well, and it's like almost like, I think it's like 4 million subs or something like that.
It's not much, to be honest.
That's a lot.
That's a
Well,
lot.
I say not much because
for a 90s metal band. That's crazy.
So I would say that different bands have a different I don't know, main mega source for where their fans get their, music or their information from. I wouldn't say YouTube is Korn's best, like on Spotify, they have like 14 million monthly listeners. So they're, very, very big there. Instagram, I think they're do really well, like on there. But I look at it also from as a YouTuber perspective. So I'm like, their channel could be better. Or it could be more focused on.
I was amazed how big it was though, and I was like, man, what is the comp from that same era? I don't think there is a comparable coming out of that same era that they did from the 90s that is doing what they're doing today. Who is it? Who would that be?
Those couple other bands, Deftones,
System of a Down, maybe.
System of a Down, and Slipknot's obviously still very big.
Slipknot, yeah.
And to be honest, Limp Bizkit has had the most like fairy tale story arc of they were massive 1999 2000 outselling pretty much almost any other rock band at that time. Like I want to say like 10 million copies of their second album, something crazy like that. And then they took a massive dive to where they couldn't even play shows in the US without being booed most of the time. And that was unfortunately due to like Fred Durst, the singer's like just habits and behaviors and what he was saying. And people were just like, you know what, you're not for us anymore. They kept going overseas. They never stopped touring like Europe and Asia. And they managed and making, music here and there. But all of a sudden that cycle that like, it's been about 20, 25 years or so. People latched back onto them. And I remember they played years ago now, they played Lollapalooza, and it was like, Limp Bizkit's playing Lollapalooza? That's weird. They come out completely sort of different vibe, way more of just like this party band, not like a FU, I'm a cool,
angry.
Yeah, just more of like this party vibe. Still the same songs, but the way they're being presented to the crowd. And Fred was dressed as a dad. He literally had like a wig on, like a Hawaiian shirt or something, and he was just dressed as like this friendly dad character. And it blew up. And now they're doing huge shows, and they've been doing them for the last 5 years or so.
Dad sings break stuff still, though, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they still sing the hits for sure. Yeah.
So what does the logistics look like for going on tour? Like, do you guys all travel together, or do you guys all kind of meet up at the location where you're going? Like, what does that look like?
It depends on the tour. So like South America would be a really bad comparison because it's flying to every single show. It's just not the norm if you're talking about like a US tour or a Europe tour. But for us these days, I mean, we have a pretty big crew. We're pushing 30 people on the crew, and that doesn't include the band members, management, and security guards, like that kind of stuff. So, I mean, maybe closer to up to about 45 people or so that we're traveling with in different, capacities. And it's everything from, techs, lighting, automation, things that move on the stage, lasers, and you have to have specialists for all of these. And then they usually have an assistant out there. For me as the band assistant, and like I said, not being like a consistent tour with other bands, my vision and like focus of what I'm doing on a day-to-day and my knowledge, to be honest, is nowhere near what a lot of these guys have and they deal with. So I show up for my job, and when I'm not needed, I go off into nature and I get away from the venue in the city and that kind of thing. And luckily I have been there for so long where they allow me the ability to do that, because I wouldn't, if I was just like, all right, well, this tour is over and I got to go work for Slayer this time, they'd be like, excuse me, you're going to just disappear for 14 hours and go off on a burning trip? No.
I thought the juxtaposition was pretty interesting. I know like that, the birding, let's talk about that a little too.
Here's the fourth layer. We're onto the fourth.
Yeah,
layer.
We're in the fourth.
So
Yeah.
so you're I'm assuming I've watched Katie for years too, of course, because she's been in your videos a lot, and
She's
she has
right over here. There we go.
Oh, hey, Katie.
Oh, hey.
She's currently playing Final Fantasy 14. So.
Right on, man. and I know she has did she go to school for biology or what? Because I know she works at the zoo now, right? Or has been for a long time.
So I'll start with, she has a biology degree, and I was going to have a biology degree. So we go back to the start again of Scott's teenage years. From the age of like 4 or 5 until like 16, I was going to be either a biologist or a zoologist, and I was going to go off to college for that. There's bookshelves behind me right now. We've pared it down a lot over the years, but there's still mixed in. I think right up there, you can see some like larger bird books and stuff. I still have a bunch of nature guides, and I did a bunch of self-studying as a kid. So I wanted to learn as much as I could about all nature, but birds seem to be like always my number one focus. And I think it's mainly because when you go out in nature, you're going to see mostly birds and bugs. Like those are the two main things that are going to be out and moving around. So your mammals and reptiles and that kind of stuff, you're just not going to see as often. So it was sort of just like, what was presented to me at a young age was, well, there's a lot of birds out there. And when I hit age like 16, my dad and mom were going to take me on like a weekend trip to a zoological college that's in Florida, like a teaching college. And they packed the car. The appointment was made. And I, being a 16-year-old kid, said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, it was like the stereotype of, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be, and I'm like, nah, I'm into music right now. And I feel like you're taking my hobby of nature and trying to force feed it onto me as my life and my job.
Wow.
And so I was rebelling, and I could, if my life had gone a different route, I could easily look back to that point and be like, man, I made a mistake. Luckily, things turned out pretty well with the music world and all that. So my dad frequently says, I don't know how you did it, but you managed to make it work. And, and he was proud that, and now in my older years, in my adult years, I at first was like, man, I kind of wish maybe I did go to college or get a degree, because I could never get a job in that field without getting a degree. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't need a job. I have a job. I just want to enjoy that. And I'm like, you don't have to be getting paid to enjoy nature. So I still study. I still like my wife and I have a life list of all the birds we see. I'm a volunteer park ranger. So is she in our county. So we go and do like cleanup efforts. I wish I did more, just, had more free time, but I still, will take the time to put on the shirt. We have a little badge and go out there every once in a while and just pick up human garbage. Unfortunately, that is always available to find at your local nature park. So yeah, I realized I don't have to be getting paid to still enjoy nature, enjoy that aspect of my life. And honestly, it's probably even better because Katie did work for a zoo for 15 years. Just in 2025 at the end, she switched jobs. She now works directly with birds, pretty much exclusively birds and some reptiles, at a botanical gardens called Sunken Gardens. And she's basically like the head of her department, and it's a city job. It pays better. It's closer to home.
Probably keeps you insured.
Yeah, it has a lot of great benefits. City benefits. You work there 10 years, and they basically say, thanks. Here's the stack of cash. Thanks for your time here. So yeah, she's loving her new job there, and it's funny now that there's a cat butt on my shoulder. No, it's funny that now she is directly working with birds because she didn't at the zoo. She mainly worked with mammals there. But with each year that goes by and our crazy nature trips that we take, that are mainly bird focused, again, all nature focused. Like when relatives go like, why do you only go look at birds? It's like, we don't. If a jaguar's there, we're going to take photos of the jaguar.
Right.
But there's a lot of birds. There's over 11,000 species of birds. So
that's cool that you're probably able to see a lot of with your job. It's like a perfect mesh because you're traveling all around the world and you're able to go off into nature when you're, like you said earlier, when you're off the clock.
Yeah.
And see birds that you probably wouldn't see if you're just living here in the US all the time.
And how jealous
that's amazing.
How jealous was Katie watching your videos from that trip, man? I bet she was jealous, huh?
She takes it well. I mean, the positive aspect is I make sure that we go and do amazing things that are just as amazing, or if not more. So she's been to Costa Rica and Ecuador and Brazil.
Yep.
And we're going to Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. So it's every year it's going to be like that. As long as we can, both health-wise, survive it, and financially, be able to make it happen. So
keep selling those games off. Keep selling that collection off.
people go, like, well, what are you doing with the money, or why are you selling it this way? I'm like, because I want to build memories and experiences these days. And while I loved collecting, I just switched my focus. Like I still appreciate like I said, the finding and the hunting and that stuff. But I realize that if I want to maintain an adult lifestyle, having a house and, that kind of stuff, I can't be dropping $5,000 every couple of weeks on buying a collection or
right.
So now I keep the balance of, well, we want to do this one big trip this year. How much is that going to cost? What do I need to, what do we need to sell to keep our savings good and also to be able to pay for these nature trips? So it's a weird thing to tell someone when they're buying a complete Earthbound in the box, like, this is going to help pay for 4 days in Jamaica looking at birds or something. Like, okay, that's weird. But
so I have kind of a crazy question.
Go for it.
You're into nature and everything, and I can't help but notice the name of your channel. Do you believe in Sasquatch?
Believe would be a very strong word. Have a fascination with. I definitely did as a kid and when I was younger. It's the type of thing where I think a lot of stuff is, based in some truth. Have there been escaped orangutans, chimpanzees? Yes. Have maybe they survived in the swamps of like Florida or Louisiana or wherever, for a few years? Sure. I think that's where those kind of stories and myths originate and come from. And there's always that chance that there might be an ape, or something that has not been fully discovered and described by science. But it has been a long time since something that large, which would have been like the okapi, like 100 years ago, that was discovered in like the deep jungles of Africa, a large mammal that they were like, what the hell is this? We've never seen it before. And the local people were like, yeah, we've always seen these. Where have you been, white guy from Europe? Like these aren't new. So yeah, I would.
Have you ever seen the Patterson Gimlin film?
Oh, of course.
What do you think about that? Guy in a suit?
I mean, they said a lot of people think it's a lady Sasquatch because it looks like
it is.
Yeah, it has
breasts.
Some breasts on them, or just a very out of shape man Sasquatch. I mean, it's funny that like the coolest, best looking footage of a Sasquatch supposedly is from so long ago. Like,
have they ever been able to like definitively like disprove that film? I don't. Have you seen it, Lonnie?
No, I don't. I haven't.
You haven't?
I'll have to watch it after.
You have, but you don't know what it were set. Like there's no way you have not seen. It's where the famous like sideways view of a Sasquatch with his arm. It's literally that.
Oh. Yeah. Is it like is it the same thing? Isn't there like some beef jerky or something that has that image on it or something?
Yeah, I
there
mean,
probably is.
Jack linked. Yeah. But it was the story was there was, I think, two guys that were out, they were on horseback and they saw it and he went to go film it. Like he freaked out and he fell off the horse. Mm-hmm. So it's a part of like the story of why it's not the best, footage or whatever, but it was from what the
60s, I believe.
60s, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching it right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just, it's spooky looking, like
it is.
It's funny that, with how amazing.
Didn't they like analyze it? Like they zoomed in, analyzed it. It looks like there's actually like muscular movements on the legs.
There's like 10 or 20 documentaries just about that, that moment in time. But
I bet his question sounded ridiculous to you now that we've heard you talk about it. Have you ever seen that video? You're like, oh.
Many times. I mean, I had my small amount of merch I ever made up for my channel has that logo on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking, I maybe ever printed up 100 shirts total back in like the heyday of like the 2012 to 15, somewhere around there. I had some merchandise, but that was never I felt dumb for being like, buy shirts from a guy that buys and sells video games. Like,
hey, it doesn't sound so crazy these days, though, does it?
No.
Well, no. I mean, everybody does. Like you had mentioned, there's a lot of channels, obviously, that do the selling aspect of video games. And one funny thing is being at conventions 15, 20 years ago, I was the weirdo with the camera out, like nobody was holding a camera and they were like, this guy's talking to himself or he wants me to be on camera with him. No, that's not right. Now I can't believe how many people at bigger shows like Southeast Game Exchange or Game On or something like that, how many people, almost everyone has a camera on their phone. Like it's weirder to be not filming, it seems, for they might not have a YouTube channel, but they might just be live streaming or Instagram or whatever. But I'm
telling you, when I first started watching you, man, you were one of the bigger players. I at least from my perspective, maybe I didn't know.
Oh, I'll toot my own horn. I'm at that time there was the Game Chasers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They did come out YouTube wise doing that type of content like a year and a half before me. There was another channel where I think there were Retro Hunters. I might have the name wrong, but two dudes, similar Game Chasers style. They didn't do it nearly as for as long. I want to say maybe only like a year, 2 years max before they stopped. But at that time it was only a few channels. And then I took the reverse of it. I said all right, there's already a couple guys that are going to flea markets and buying for their, collection and hating on resellers.
I'm going to turn it around.
Yeah. How about if I show the reseller side? Some of these dudes collect. Some of these dudes suck. Some of these, people are just doing it to fund, their hobby, for their collection. So I love now, fast forward almost 15 years later from when Video Game Sellers, when that show I was filming at the flea market started, I love hearing like Retro Rick, Chase After the Right Price, and other channels that are just massive game sellers now. They came to my panels when they were teenagers. Wow. They watched my videos when they were, kids going up into their 20s and going like, I learned how to things that come so natural now, but everything's not going to be out at a garage sale. You got to talk to the people. You got to ask them some questions. You got to treat them this way. It's, there's a lot of layers to this kind of a hobby or.
Well, I remember watching your videos back in the day, man. You would find like on a Saturday, even back then there were more games available for sure. The competition wasn't as fierce, but you would still come back with your hauls were so ridiculously good. I would look in your comments and you would have so many people claiming they were staged, faked, etc. But then they didn't take into account you're a master networker. Like that's what you do.
I've always been able to sell myself very well, and it took a long time for me to realize that, but that's how I've got most of my jobs. Even things where I didn't really have a lot of background in it, I was just like, hey, I think I could do this. Do you have faith in me? And it's sort of the same thing. Like, if you're able to not be fake and be very honest with someone and just cut to the chase, you tend to be able to, get something out of it, but yeah, back then I also, I put some blame on myself. I was filming in a way where you really wouldn't 100% always know, like, if I was faking it or not, because I didn't have a live cam. There was no, like, especially back in like in 2012, there really wasn't.
You would normally show back at the car after you went to the sale.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't have a GoPro. I didn't have a cameraman. It was just me going out hunting, and then if I found something, I'd film it in the car. The funny things though were every week I'm not only piling up massive piles, but I'm taking it out for sale and it's being sold. So I'm not sure how you would fake that. Getting rid of all the stuff you just got and then somehow amassing another massive pile, unless I was essentially going broke and buying it full price at a local game store or something, and then take, there's always someone's going to say, but so yeah, I dealt with that a decent amount. And then I started realizing I didn't really want to put people on camera if they didn't know they're on camera during that era, because I was going to the flea market where people could find me easily every single week for years on end. And if they were unhappy with, I bought a game from them for $5 that's worth 100, and then they saw me selling it, they could be like, dude, you have me on they have me on camera and I don't appreciate that. And so I tried to keep people off the camera as much as I could back then. I will say these days, it's a different culture also.
Right.
We film right out in the open at all these yard sales. And Katie sometimes says, like, isn't this weird? Aren't people like, I'm like, everyone thinks that this is normal now. It's normal to be filming everything you're doing or talking to yourself like that. So it's like, I maybe had 5 times in the last 5 years at yard sales where someone goes, are you filming? Do you mind not filming? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll shut it off.
Right.
Half the time they go, oh, you're filming? What are you filming for? YouTube? Yeah, that's cool. Like they don't.
What's your channel? I want to watch it or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I've gotten subscribers at yard sales before. So, but yeah, it's just a different time and a place. And now I like having, I had my friend Eddie filming for about 2.5, 3 years, but then his life focus changed, and he's like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. That's totally fine. I understand. So then now I drag Katie out, and she's been filming. Yeah, look at that. So
hey,
happy Katie. She comes out and films, and it's worked out really well. A little bit of a learning curve for her because she's so short and I'm so tall.
I know. I was going to tell.
How tall are you?
That. Yeah, I was going to ask that because I'm watching you wearing your when you were wearing, what was that band? What's the band you were wearing? The hoodie for, the black hoodie.
Deftones?
You're just Deftones, yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, that dude is like 8 foot tall.
You look massive in the videos.
You look so tall.
So 6'3", and that's not crazy. That's not crazy tall. It is tall when you're with a 4'11" person.
She's having to kind of aim the camera up so it, the perspective.
There's a massive upswing with the camera. Yeah. So trying to not film my butt also was sort of like the first thing. She's like right at butt level. But yeah, it's a learning curve, but it's been going good, and we have a lot of fun. And Eddie has even come out a couple times with us, when he just was like, you know what, I don't mind, I'll come out on a Saturday. But his main thing is he was done editing. He had a much nicer computer and a lot more skills when it came to editing, because his main job, he's a photographer. So he brought a lot to my channel, and it taught me a lot about that. I used to edit all my old videos, but when he decided he didn't want to do that anymore, because I was still I'm like a bad over the shoulder manager. I still would basically edit all the videos with him. He just had his hand on the mouse. I was just like, all right, click that, do that. So he probably wanted to pull his hair out half the time. But I had to like reteach myself how to edit, and I'm not as good as Eddie, and I don't have the as much patience to learn, I guess, when it comes to like the computer programs. But I've been able to make it happen. I don't think too many people have noticed a huge change.
Let me ask you something, Scott. There was a sad time there, like 2 years. It was probably a couple of years at least, where you weren't making videos anymore.
I don't know. Was it sad for me or sad for?
No. It was sad for me, man, because I would.
Okay.
You stopped. I don't know if it was sad for you or not. I don't know, but you stopped uploading, and then every couple of months I go check, and no, still not there.
Yeah,
still not there. And then all of a sudden you showed up again. What?
That would have been. So I've been back on YouTube now very consistently for the last 3 years. If you go back to 2016, 17 era, like I said, I was throwing everything I had at YouTube and trying to do collaborations, and I wasn't seeing the results that I really was hoping for. And I'm like, man, if I'm putting this much effort in, it's just really still not going there. And I'm still obviously editing the videos and just trying to fit all this into, my schedule. I'm also starting to work for Korn again. I'm starting to go back out on tour, and we're doing
at the same time.
Yeah. And especially 2018, that was the most shows I have ever worked in a year, because we did Korn stuff, and then the singer for Korn did a solo project, and we did multiple solo tours. So it was like one time I was gone for 3 months straight before I ever got back home.
Wow.
So around that time, I was like, I kind of just lost the real interest to do the work, the editing, that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm going to take a break. And then there was one break that was a year long. I came back after a tour cycle. We pumped out 6 months worth of videos or so. I went on just another break. That break lasted 2 years. There was no I kept trying to, answer every comment or message I would get saying, I haven't quit. I'm not dead. The YouTube channel's still there. I'm just currently not making content. I didn't plan for it to necessarily be 2 years, but I also didn't have a plan of when I was coming back. And 3 years ago, 2023, a friend of mine, Dave, was just like, man, you still have this channel with 50,000 subscribers on it. Why don't you do something with it? And I was like, because I don't want to edit, and I don't want to have to film, and I don't if there was somebody there to do it, that would at least make it a little bit easier on me. And he kind of came up with the idea of well, what if we did a competition show? So
I remember that.
It was called, I'm not going to remember the name of my own show, Retro Hunting Showdown. And we did 5 episodes. It was weird because one friend had said, I'll help with the editing. Okay. He did one video and was like, this sucks. Not that he thought what we were making sucks, but the editing process. Cause he was trying to add in so many different little funny jokes and memes and stuff. And I was like, whoa, dude, you got to look at my old content. Every joke and every little funny thing we did was organic, in person. It wasn't in post-production, adding in weird whatever the
gimmick.
Yeah.
Can't force it.
Yeah. so he did that one episode, or what episode that he was like, okay. So I was like, well, shoot. I'm like, Eddie, who's a mutual friend of all of us. I was like, would you be interested? And then Eddie was. 3 years went by, and he stuck around, and we, like I said, we did those 5 episodes. But then after that, like, we kind of had like an arc. The whole idea was Dave would go out on Fridays, I would go out on Saturdays. Whoever found the best stuff, which was then judged by our friend Thomas, who owns a game store. And then there was a belt that I made. It was really cheesy. Yeah. With a bunch of connected ventures all over it. And I think I won the belt like the first 2 times. Dave won it the third or the 4th time, and then I won it back like for the grand finale. But that was a lot of fun. The most work, though, to try to schedule 4 people around filming times, editing, filming at the shop. That was a lot of work. So it was fun while it lasted. But then Eddie decided, like I said, to stick around, and we started going garage sailing. Just us. He came to the conventions and would film all the Video Game Sellers episodes at the conventions. And it's during different points of your life, you're like, I want to throw everything I have at this, and I have so many ideas. And then it's like, all right, I did that. I want to take a break from that.
I want to go watch some birds.
Yeah, exactly. So I've tried to the last, I would say, let's say year, I've tried to get at least 1 video up a month, if not 2. And when I was just on tour in South America, I knew that it was going to be at least a month without any content. So I was like, well, shoot, I'm here. I really don't like filming on tour, and people always ask me why I don't film on tour, and it's because it's work. And I've always tried to separate I'm at work, the YouTube stuff is its own thing. I blended it in the past. There are videos of me with musicians and rock stars.
Yeah, y'all would talk about video games with them sometimes. I remember those.
Doing some interviews, or I went like game hunting on tour, and I would film the game hunting. But, I just, in my head, it sort of became more of like, when I'm on tour, I want it to be I'm on tour.
Lock in.
Yeah, and lock in. But again, things change. I'm on this tour. I'm doing all these nature trips on my days off, and I'm looking at these shows. These are our biggest shows we've ever played as headliners, and I'm like, I guess I'll film a couple video clips, and I put them on Instagram. I didn't even put them on YouTube at first. I've always been way behind on social media. I was late to Facebook probably by 5 years. I was late to
YouTube. You weren't late to YouTube though.
I was early to YouTube.
2006. Yeah. That's like, isn't that when YouTube started?
Yeah, I was right at the forefront of YouTube, but like Instagram, I was late to Twitch, or not Twitch, Twitter, all that. But so Instagram, I had like 1,500 followers, and I basically just use my Instagram, my Facebook as a promoter to my YouTube. And that doesn't really work. I mean, people, it's hard to get them to click on something that's not there, go to this other place. So I was like, well, let me put up my first reel on Instagram. And this was a month ago. I put up 1 video, and it goes to like 250,000 views in like a day. And I was like, this is stupid. I was like, this is dumb. Like, why does this do so well here? So then I put a handful of those on YouTube. Some of them did well. And I'm talking about like 20 to 40 second concert clips of like insane moments, or pictures of me up in the Andes, or, out on the ocean on the Atlantic coast of Brazil, just like my travels. And I went from 1,500 Instagram followers to 11,000 in 3 weeks, 4.3 million views. I've never had in 20 years of making YouTube content, I never had a video reach 1 million views. Wow.
Funny, I was gonna ask you if you had started making any short form content, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, you don't want to film the long form content while you're at your job, which makes sense. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But with short form content, you can just take a quick clip, and it has the potential to go bananas.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, my first 1 million viewed video is of in Brazil, a curtain, it's called a kabuki, right at the beginning of the show, drops down, and then you all of a sudden see 50,000 people going insane.
That's the one. Whenever because Ryan didn't know who you were, because he's not like, we don't run in the same circles necessarily. He's not the reseller like I am.
I used to be. I have a dormant channel now.
he's a reseller, but he's not like a reseller. I don't know how to say it. But I was like, yeah, man, I really would love to have Scottsquatch on. And I think I probably mentioned you to him before, and I sent that clip. I'm like, this is him right here. And I sent him that clip of that curtain drop.
Yep. Amazing.
It's a weird place to be right now in my, 20 years of being a digital creator of content. And in 3 weeks, having a whole other aspect blow up. And now I have all these Latin American fans that know nothing about my video game aspect. They know about my nature stuff because I was mixing in. Again, I'm not making any money off of the Instagram. I don't have any sort of, I don't even really know how that works on Instagram compared to YouTube.
Instagram doesn't pay.
Yeah. Nope. So unless you have somebody paying you, sponsor. Yep. So there's no money being, I just was like, you know what? I'm promoting my guys, the band I work for. I can't get, in trouble in the sense of like, I'm not making money off of this aspect. It's just for promoting. And I'll put up my nature stuff as well. And I'll mix it in because I don't want to have it too heavy of one thing. I want to let people know like, hey, this is me, but you're not going to get this in 3 weeks when I'm home. I can't keep putting up pictures or video clips of rock concerts because I don't have it. So
what do you do now? Because I look at your YouTube channel and you put it on YouTube, and you've got some long form and some short form too on YouTube that you did from that, or
So my thought is I'm probably going to lose a good chunk of those people, either like legit, like they're going to unfollow, or they'll just not pay attention until we're back out on tour. And I will, as long as it always, works, meaning like for my job and for time wise and my position on stage, that kind of thing. If I can film a couple cool clips and throw them up and make those fans in those countries go, oh, I could see myself in the front row. This is such a different angle, that kind of thing. Then I'll continue doing it. So I'm sure it'll go up and down, but I made a little video for Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook just to try to be like, hey guys, this is me. You're gonna see video game stuff. You're gonna see nature stuff. And I've had some people like, I've been on YouTube long enough where I have fans in South America. So it's not like all of a sudden I've never talked to someone from Brazil on my channel or something, but, I have gained new people that are like, oh, I like games too. That's cool. Like it doesn't just have to be concert footage from a Korn show. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, I'm sure, of like, how do I please, these audiences, but I've dealt with it. If you go back to the 2011, when I started making the video game content on my channel, my Halloween fans, I had built up 5,000-6,000 subscribers that were just there for Halloween. And they were like, what is this? What's all this video game stuff you're talking about? I was like, hey, it's another aspect of my life. And people seem to like it. And so I started putting up more game content. And then I actually remember back when I first started watching you would, like around Halloween, you would kind of transition into a little bit of the Halloween stuff again. Yeah. And you probably pissed some of your video game people off at that point. Oh, sure. Right. It's there's always this struggle when it comes to being a personality online. And it is, when you're not there, you're dead. Yep. When you try to do something different, either if you're lucky, they just ignore you. If you're not lucky, they go, well, this is stupid. I think you're stupid. Why are you taking away? I only like garage sales, Yep. And so it's this never ending, balance. And that's where the beauty of taking breaks when I just didn't want to, have to
Mhm.
I didn't want to ever force it. This has never been a job. Me selling video games isn't a job. It is when I felt like it and when it worked for my life and it made sense for that time. I did it. I wasn't going to, I try to give advice to everyone that ever asks for advice. Starting a channel or doing anything online that they're like, I'm like, just do it because you're going to have fun and you want to be doing it. Do not do it because you feel like you have to, because it's a job. And, if at least starting out, if you have that mentality, you're probably going to just nosedive and get really frustrated. If you get really successful and it becomes a job, then, hey, by all means, keep doing it. If you're making money, maybe you're, not happy, but,
Right. Who is happy at their, well, you are, but like most people are not really that happy at their jobs anyway. So
yeah, I can say that like all jobs, there have been times touring where I was not. You get homesick or
of course, yeah.
You just get a little bit like I don't like being told, not even told, but like your whole life is scheduled. Where I have, what time I have to be on an airplane, in a bus, eating, these are the times you're eating today, or you're not going to eat, or you're going to eat potato chips or whatever. So it's like, you get a little bit like, I don't want to have that schedule anymore. And in 2022, a big year was when I decided to start selling the collection, is also when I had to ask myself and ask the band, like, can I take breaks? Am I allowed to not do a couple shows here and there?
Oh, wow. And, that might let the next guy in though, right?
Exactly. And, even though at that point I had been there for 16 years or whatever, I still had that in the back of my mind. I'm like, I've seen this happen, like I've been a part of it happening. So I was pretty scared to ask, like, hey guys, I have a trip that I'm supposed to take with my wife and my wife's side of her family, and we're going to go to Yellowstone, and you guys just added more shows, and they're now during that trip. I'm like, I gotta cancel. Like, I can't do those shows. And I'm like, I totally understand if you say we got to replace you, we got to bring someone else in. And they just basically, all of them said, shut up, just go do your stuff. You're fine. You've been here longer than any of our current employees. Like, and that was a big relief off my shoulders. And I'm so glad, like, you got to do those kind of things. Scott's wisdom piece of advice. You got to do those kind of things, because if I hadn't done that, that was our last family trip that we ever took, because Katie's mom passed away of lung cancer a year later. Wow. So it's just, things that clicked in my head with, we wanted to take all these big vacations when we're older, when we're in our 60s, because that's what you do. You retire and then you go do these things.
When you can't walk anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not promised tomorrow. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, my family has a huge history of cancer, and I very well expect to get some sort of cancer, colon, prostate, something. It's just really prevalent in my family. So, and I'm like, all right, well, we're doing these things now. I say lucky, but I work my ass off. I'm constantly doing, stuff. So, I luckily have the funds, because I have the drive to keep doing these things, to be able to afford it. But, if I hadn't hoarded a collection for 35 years, there's no way I would be able to, I'd be just, I have a job. It pays well, but it's a normal-ish paying job. So I attribute to being a hoarder.
So when you guys aren't on tour, like right now, you just got back from some shows in South America, right?
Yeah.
So like when you aren't on tour in your home, what does that look like for you? Are you just totally off the clock? Like you don't have any responsibilities, or do you have to do some things while you're home?
I am just a touring employee. So I'm not on any sort of retainer. Yeah. So when I am at home, of course, like if someone emails me related to the band or I'm asked a question, I'm going to, do my job and do that, but I'm not getting any sort of pay. So that is where, luckily Katie works. And then I, do my selling on the side, and the few conventions, a year, usually I'd say about 3 conventions on average. And that kind of helps, float the boat along, between those tours. Because Korn, they're doing so well that they also don't have to bust their butts touring nonstop. So we can do 2 month-long tours a year. So we're talking maybe 50 to 70 paid days for me. And that's it. So yeah, it's a good paying job. But it doesn't matter if you only got paid 70 days out of the year. Right. It doesn't matter if I could be getting paid $2,000 a day and it's still going to be like, well, that was gone quickly.
Yep.
I'm not paid $2,000 a day, by the way.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, do you play any instruments at all, or you're just totally a music fan?
Bass guitar was the instrument that I played the most in like late teens, into the 20s. I still have a bass. I recently restrung it. But I am not a bass player. I had a couple bands, like little jam bands with friends where we just rehearsed and, wrote little songs and stuff, but I never played shows live or anything like that. A couple, like my biggest thing is I got to do like a sound check for Korn, like once or twice. And then I was for one tour, I worked for a different band that was on the same management as Korn, a lovely band called Five Finger Death Punch. And,
whoa. Okay.
And I was their bass tech. But I only did it because it was a tour with Korn, and this was in a little bit of a grace period from the record label I worked for that Monkey owned closing, and Monkey hiring me as his personal assistant. There was a 1 tour gap, and I was like, well, they're on the same management. I'll be on tour with my family, but let's just say I did not quite fit the atmosphere that Five Finger Death Punch was living at that time behind the scenes a little bit. I'm not a partier. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm not straight edge by any means. Like if I'm sick, I'm going to take medicine for it, but I just don't take it for recreational purposes. And they did. And I was like, man, this is that's not my scene. So
I was like, we don't, I thought about asking you about stories from the road and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to ask. That's this man's job. He can't out his employers. I
think you can fill in a lot of like, it's the same stories that you would see or hear from a lot of bands. I will tell you one story that isn't even from when I was touring. The first time I was ever backstage at a show, I saw everything possible in 10 minutes. At this show, there's a band called Ministry, which is the singer is Al Jorgensen, been around since the 80s, still out there, still touring. We just played a show with him in Vegas about a month ago at Sick New World Festival. Katie and I go to this show. The opening band, or one of the opening bands, is a band called Motor Grader. The singer for Five Finger Death Punch was the singer for Motor Grader. So I was friends with him back before he became a big front man in a big band. And they said, hey, you want to come backstage and hang out? And I was like, I've never been backstage at a show. We're teenagers at this time. We're probably maybe 19, probably 18 or 19. And we come backstage, and literally it was like, bam, 20 people all smoking, doing some coke, like partying. Okay. Al Jorgensen comes up, singer from Ministry, from behind, grabs my wife and picks her up, and it's like, hey baby. And I'm like, okay, he's molesting my wife. Cool. That's interesting.
Whoa.
At that same time, a guy falls out of the bathroom with his pants around his ankles, who was having some fun with a young lady that was in there. And everyone bursts out laughing and starts pointing at him. And this, like I said, this is all in like 10 minutes time, like drugs, sex, boobs,
rock and roll,
rock and roll,
everything possible. And I realized, I'm like, this is insane, but I'm like, we need to get out of here. Cause like I said, we're barely of age, and there's some extra activities going on back here that I think we could get in trouble for. So, so it wasn't very memorable, but that was my first time ever backstage. And luckily, you know, I survived and I didn't get scared away as a teen. I was just like, that's intriguing. It's not quite what I want to be doing, but it makes for good stories. And I definitely have some ones, like you said, you know, you can tell these stories without naming usually a bunch of names. But at the same time, it's the same thing over and over: boobs, sex, drugs, alcohol, repeats. You know, it's more of like when it's the opposite. Like, we were eating Skittles.
Right.
That was like, we were playing basketball with Skittles for like an hour, or me and Ray, the drummer for Korn, going antiquing. Like, it's you know, those are like the more like, what the hell I was at Walmart with a stripper at 3:00 in the morning on tour, shopping for fishing gear with Vinnie Paul, the late great drummer for Pantera. And
wow.
And that was a memory I had, like with this lady in a bikini and like pushing a Walmart shopping cart late at night, and Vinnie Paul's just loading in like fishing poles. And I was like, I'm just a part of this. I'm here. Yeah.
That's amazing.
How did that, man, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like, going from, to back up a little bit, going from a huge fan of Korn to now you're like with them every day, man. Did you like ever, like in that, like when you first started? Yeah. Like, did you have to pinch yourself and like,
it's still surreal because that doesn't happen.
No.
You know, most of the time they would never allow or let a fan get in on any, you know, that level. Korn maybe was a little different because they had a very early adaptation with their fans and the internet. And if you go back to the dawn of the internet and when Korn was peaking, they were doing some of the first live streams. They were doing some of these, like, you know, talking with their fans in chat rooms when the chat boards were just sort of, you know, coming out. And they've always been really close. In fact, to this day, sometimes with some of the members, I'm like, we can't be this close to, like, you can't say yes to every person, you know, or, you know,
right,
or invite, you know, random people, you know, backstage or whatever. So they've always been really nice. And the funny thing is, so I've worked for them for 20 years. They had another employee who was a big fan, lived in France, and they met him while on tour over there. And he said, like, I'm going to move to the States. I'm going to move to Los Angeles. I'm a photographer. Can I take photos for you? And they're like, yeah. So he came out to a show and did photos for them. They liked his photos and they said, would you like to work with us? And he worked for them for the majority of the time when I was working, up until I think he finally left in like 2016, 17, during that time where I was gone. But he worked there for a long time and he was just a fan. So Korn technically has hired 2 fans to work for them for a long period of time. And he still comes out, like, the guy's now like a major photographer. He films commercials, you know, like for car companies and stuff, but he'll still come out and do massive festivals. There's a Danny Wimmer is a production company owned by a guy named Danny Wimmer who does pretty much all the major rock shows around the country: Louder Than Life, Rockville and Daytona, Sonic Temple, just all these big, you know, 3-day, 4-day shows across the country. And Seb still, you know, his name's Seb. He goes out and films, you know, at all these shows for the entire weekend. So he's still doing it.
What does the band think about your new shorts career or reels career? What do they think about it? Are they like, yeah, Scott, do more of that? What do they think?
I would say it's one of those, you know,
watch where you aim that camera.
Ask for forgiveness. If, you know, if that situation came up. At first, when I filmed the first couple and put them up, I was like, they're probably going to say this is different, because anytime I filmed them before, it was mainly video game related. This was not video game related. But I think I didn't want to pass up the chance of how big these shows were.
Right.
Was what I was telling myself at first. And then they just started sharing them. And then they started asking.
Wow.
Yeah. And they started just, saying, because they followed my YouTube channel forever, and they followed me on Instagram when I joined that. So they're well aware of my life outside of Korn.
Okay.
So then they were like, well, send me that clip. Let me give me that clip. I want to use it. And I was like, okay. So as long as I'm, again, on the level and appeasing like the fact of this is promoting the band.
Right.
I'm well aware that me gaining followers is a good thing, but I'm also aware that they're joining and following because it's Korn. They're most of them, they're not like, ooh, the guy behind the camera,
Right.
It is cool though, your perspective from where you are and your access
wild.
and it's almost like Forrest Gump. Like you know what I mean? Like you're right there you have the ultimate access and the on the periphery there. It's so interesting.
Your perspective is like what every fan wants to have themselves.
Yeah,
it's very loud up there and sounds kind of bad. So I don't know if you'd really want to be up there every day getting blasted by like the subfills and stuff. Like that's not fun. That's I wear in-ears to help protect my hearing. But I would also say that there are other crew members. Like I am not the first person, obviously, to ever film from the stage or take pictures from the stage. We have other crew members that film some of the bigger moments, but either they don't have an Instagram, or if they do, they're not putting up as often. They already didn't have a following of other people that then jumped on for whatever reason. But I was like, well, 1, 2, 3, like 3 other guys film and put clips up and videos up, online. I'm like, why can't I? I wasn't expecting mine to do hundreds of thousands or millions of views. It just happened. So yeah, I think it's one of those where if I'm told to stop for any reason, I'll stop.
Right.
And I will be fully understanding of like, okay, that's not my job out there, isn't to be filming. But as of right now, they have been okay with it. They have used the content themselves. Korn Official, their Instagram and stuff, have taken clips and put them up. And one of their members of management was out, and I gave them, like the Mexico City Kabuki drop, clip. And so like, again, if I'm told to stop, I will stop. But all I'm doing is literally putting more eyes on the band,
right.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be okay until it isn't.
Well, hell, they might upgrade your equipment and say, hey, you need to do more of this, or maybe this. Wouldn't that be cool if that was your full-time job, just like videographer?
Yeah, I don't know, like, because I don't know what could become if that was a job. Then that would mean would I have to be editing a ton of stuff, because they're going to want it as polished as possible. These are just clips from my phone when I have 20 seconds in between songs or something. So I'm very limited right now of what I can do, because I'm running the teleprompter, and I have to make sure I'm not screwing that up. So like, okay, John has his bagpipes out. I have 45 seconds. I can film this. When he's done, I got to go back to the computer. So it's kind of going to be the same content over and over and over again.
Have you ever heard of the meta glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
were you going to say that, Lonnie?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
I feel like that's another step of, okay, now he's doing this as like a main thing. And there's definitely boundaries. I feel like you don't want to push too far. Brazil, I was pushing the boundaries pretty far, because I was like, this is going to be, we had a firework display that we had set up for the end of that show. So I was like, there's a huge firework display, 50,000 people, this massive stadium that looks really cool. So I'm like, I got to film as many clips as I can. And even I was like, I'm doing too much. But I can't. I know this is sort of like a once in a lifetime thing. Like we're not going to be down here probably again for a few more years. So I'll do it. And nothing happened. I didn't mess up anything, but I could easily have seen where, like, let's say if I had meta glasses on or something like that, and I was like trying to focus on where I was looking or paying
Right.
I could have easily screwed, stuff up. So I don't want to get fired because I filmed a damn YouTube or Instagram video.
Right. It's got to be Scott at the Korn show and not Korn at the Scott show.
Exactly. Yep. Real quick, one of the funniest things is, so Head, the other guitar player, goofy guy, loves to joke around, and he's trolling. He was trolling on my Facebook page, and he would go to the post that he was taking. So he would take the post and put it on his page, and then some of them I saw said filmed by Scott, others he was just taking, but it's him. It's footage of him and his band, so he can do whatever the hell he wants with it. But then he would troll me, commenting on them saying, "We do not know this man. This man does not work." And then I'd say 90% of the people, because I've worked for them so long, they've at least seen me in some context, like them singing happy birthday to me on stage, or me taking photos with them over the years. So they know he's just being a dork. But then of course there's a few going, "Wait, what?
Right.
You've been lying this whole time?" And I'm like, "Oh, come on, man." He did it 3. I had to text him. I'm like, "Man, you're kind of making people believe that it's not me on my own page." He replied, "Mission accomplished." And I was like, but that's just him.
Well, Scott, this has been one hell of a conversation, man. We thought it was going to be a great show coming in, and you did not disappoint. So,
well, thank you. I'm glad. I like sharing stories and talking about what's been in my brain.
It's if free will were ever personified, like you are.
I know, man.
This dude is
that guy right there.
Yeah, doesn't work a day in his life. I love it.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of sayings and stuff that you can attribute to something like the way I've kind of tried to build my life. And I always just kind of go back to my dad just saying, I don't know how you did it, but you somehow made all of your things you were into video games. You became well known online for video games, music. You ended up going out on tour and working for your favorite band as a kid. It's I don't. All I could say is I had faith in myself that I could do these things, and people seem to be like, "Oh yeah, he does." There's no he's faking it. It's he's gonna do it. So
amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So what do you want to plug? Oh, is there a chance Korn watches this? Probably not.
I mean,
tell him about it, man. We need Korn to subscribe to us. We only got a couple thousand subs.
There's always a chance. I mean, I would say there's a couple of them that I think might watch a few seconds to skip through it, and there's a couple of them that would maybe just give it a like and not actually watch it.
Yeah, I get it.
But is there anything you said? Is there anything I want to plug? I would just say, I am active. I'm as active as I can be, or I'm going to be in the world of YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And if I take a break or I disappear for a little bit for a month, I'm not dead. I hope I'm not dead.
Right.
I'm there. I reply to everything. If you send me a message, comment, I've done that for 20 years on YouTube. You go back and look. Yeah. So
dude, yeah. You know what? Right after I started my YouTube channel, and as a matter of fact, you were one of my inspirations for even starting YouTube. That's cool. I remember I messaged. Do you remember back when YouTube actually had messaging system built into YouTube?
I loved it. It was so great.
Yeah.
I
did too.
That's how you could. So, for example, you're saying you messaged me and maybe we talked.
I did.
Yeah. That's how I helped grow my channel. I messaged people like Metal Jesus or Billy from Game Chasers and said, "Hey, blah, blah, blah. Do you mind checking out this video?" Sure. And if they left a comment or a like or whatever, it meant something. Their audience then saw it and were like, "Oh, Billy liked this video. Billy's, commented here." So yeah, that I loved that. And then of course that's been stripped away. And now it's a if you want to
Yeah.
contact me, can you hit me up on Instagram?
Or contact my manager.
Yeah. So, Katie was poking me and mentioning, if I'm to plug anything, I would say it's mainly hers, but I do a lot of the editing and stuff of it. We have a nature Instagram account, which is cat the number 26, so cat26 photography at Instagram, and that is photos of our nature trips. So yes, you have to be interested in birds and jaguars and all that kind of stuff, but it's criminally low views on those, and I've thought about posting some of them on now my Instagram, but there's years and years worth of content on there, so I would say check that out. And then my second thing would be, my Instagram now is doing well, and I've tried to put up a variety of stuff. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, the _Scottsquatch, there's tour videos, nature stuff, video game stuff, and then of course obviously the YouTube channel. I'm at 54,100 subscribers. This is the most agonizing climb to 100,000. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea if it'll ever get there. It's been 20 years now. Granted, it doesn't help when you take breaks. I took a break and I would lose 1,000 subscribers or whatever.
Isn't it disgusting though? Like when you see a young guy like this Ryan guy next to me here, look on his wall. That dude worked for he worked his butt off, but he got it like within a year or something. I don't know.
It was like 2 or 3.
Well, to be honest, I should have started a new channel twice. I should not have tried to resurrect a old channel, or a dead channel, as a lot of people would say, because to this day, 3 years later, I've gained about 4,200 subscribers in the last 3 years. To this day, I'm still getting, "You're back on YouTube? Oh my gosh." I'm like, I've put up like 100 plus videos at least in that time, and people are still just realizing that I'm back, like, because the algorithm, for whatever reason, just
it's a dead channel. That's the old dead channel,
and they're never shown the new videos.
I guarantee if I had started a new channel and just put up Korn videos, I would have been at 100,000 subscribers in about probably a week, probably 2 weeks. It would have blown up, but. Anyways,
well, Scott, we really want to thank you for your time, and thank you for the great stories. And thanks, I want to personally thank you for all the content over the years. It's you've kept me a lot of company, and I've learned a bunch from you. And I
love hearing that, man.
And I also want to say thank you and hi to Katie, because I've seen a lot of hours of her as well.
Katie says hi again.
I see it. That's it.
But I will link all of those down below in the description, so everybody can go follow you very easily. And go give them a follow, everybody.
Cat26 photography with a K.
Yes, that's the one.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys. Love ya. Peace.